And this is what it does right at the end of the silver bullet session. Here's the end of the hour. I thought it was going to come get this target and this target. Had I stayed in this trade without breaking even, it would have hit my secondary target. So I've got a lot to learn. I've got a lot to learn about where to put my stop losses if I am correct, and how to break even properly, and how to have confidence in the targets that I have set, and why, my rationale and logic for even thinking that it's going to sweep down first before it sweeps higher to the upside. All right, I'm going to demonstrate what I'm trying to learn, the silver bullet ICT strategy. And the silver bullet is a strategy to go long or short at a certain time of day. Now, we're not interested in the London session, which is 3 in the morning, because I'm not up at that time. But it is a time-sensitive trade. It can only be taken, this particular setup can only be taken at these times here. Now, I am awake and ready to go at 10 a.m. So between 10 and 11 a.m. Eastern Time, New York City time, USA. And there's another hour between 2 and 3 p.m. New York City Eastern Time. So here's the sessions that I trade the silver bullet between 10 and 11 a.m. Eastern Time and 2 and 3 p.m. Eastern Time, New York City Eastern Time. The directive of the trade is to enter the trade during this time in the direction of the liquidity draw, which way we think price is going to sweep first. And in today's video, you will see that we do believe it's going to go up, but not before it goes down. And I am convinced to finally take a trade to the long side just before it finally does what I thought it was going to do, and that's sweep internal liquidity to the downside first. So I reverse my position immediately, and it works. And I want to show you what happened in the video today. Let's go over the rest of the rules and parameters of the silver bullet. The elements of the trade is to know the draw on liquidity, which way we think price is going to go and sweep first. Make sure there's at least, 10 points available, profit target if you're trading, or 10 pips or a 10 handle, depending on what you're trading. Identify the trigger, entry setup, or entry trade. What's going to trigger you to take the trade? In this video, we're using order blocks and fair value gaps to enter in the trade. So we know which direction we want it to go. We know there's enough room to take the trade, and we look for the setup to trigger. All right. And there's different reasons for liquidity draw, and I'm not going to get into that. There's a high weighting in today's example, and price has done nothing but go straight up towards that high, and we do believe it's going to eventually get there. But my rationale for the trade setup today was that it's going to do a temporary internal liquidity sweep to the sell stops at the bottom. The key to this whole trade, though, is to determine the most likely draw on price action, which today in this video, I thought it was going to sweep temporarily low first before the bigger picture of it going up higher. So having said that, let's take a look at the video. All right, this is the PM session of the silver bullet time. And what we're looking at here is the two gray squares. The one on the left here represents the previous hour, and the one on the right where it's going up over the top represents the silver bullet hour, which in the PM that's 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Right now it's just hit 2 p.m. and it's still going up. So what we do is we're looking to enter a trade in the direction of liquidity, which on the higher time charts could be the high right over here. The question always is that where it's going before it pulls back to do a sweep on something? So we look at these levels here on say the 5-minute chart even. We have little tiny draws on liquidity here and different places. Here's another one that it could come down and sweep before going up. So it could come down and sweep before going up. And if it does, then the drawn liquidity would be internal and be temporary. It'd be down in this area here. But if we're going to try to short this down for some reason past the first hour, say the drawn liquidity, we've made our mind up and the drawn liquidity is somehow it's going to be one of these levels down here, which is way past the first hour. Maybe the drawn liquidity before it goes over the top here is going to be some kind of a pullback first. If it is, then the drawn liquidity is much lower than the first hour. We got draws and liquidity down here. That's within the first hour. Actually, the edge of the first hour This is the first hour. This is the hour, previous hour we're looking for. If the silver bullet is going to pull back down past this previous hour to get all the liquidity that's in this area here, in this hour of the silver bullet, which is 2 p.m. Eastern time, New York City time, to 3 p.m. Right now it just hit 2 p.m. Eastern time, New York City. If it is going to sweep these liquidity levels before going up higher, then it's going to displace and create a downward opportunity. It would have to displace, I would say, on the 1 minute chart, give us and it really could be setting that up now where it pin-tailed up with one last final sweep before heading down and displacing. We would want to see some kind of sharp move down, and it would have to come down, I would say probably past these pivots here, maybe somewhere in this area, to really prove to us that it wants to go back down and sweep these other levels. I'm not sure if I would call that necessarily a shift in market structure. I mean, this looked like one here a little bit, but all it did was rotate back up. This did create a sell side liquidity level, and there's some here. Let's see if we get a failed swing. It's also possible it's just going to keep going right up. It doesn't have to reverse and go down and sweep. I mean, it really could be, and I don't blame anyone for thinking necessarily that we're not going to correct anything. We're not going to come back and sweep any temporary internal liquidity. We're going to go straight up. We're going to go right up here before we do that. It's quite possible. It's definitely possible. For some reason, I'm on the side of thinking that before it sweeps up that high and that fast, we're going to get some kind of pullback to liquidity here. Internal liquidity levels. Here's the 15-minute chart. There's a liquidity level there, all the way down here. If it wanted to sweep that low, that would put us pretty low. It may not sweep. I mean, it may be going right up to this upper line up here. This is where, so if that's the case, we should be looking for entry points, but it's so far stretched out. It's really hard to get in this when it's this far stretched out. Here's a fair value gap that it didn't use. Here's the entry for that, but that was before the silver bullet moment, so we couldn't actually have gotten in early, I don't think, necessarily. That fair value gap right there was tested and worked. Now's the moment for silver bullet time. Okay, so either it's going to keep going or it's going to reverse. I don't think it's going to chop around. It's either going one way or the other here. But I'm still on the side of it possibly sweeping down before going all the way up, and I could be wrong. So let's just pause the video, let some time go by, and see what happens here. See, it's interesting to see the attempt to try what I'm trying to do now over here before the silver bullet hour. This fair value gap was created. It came down. It went up to test it. Looked like it was going to roll down and just popped right back through and kept going. But the real moment for any kind of trade like this would be right now in this block of time, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern, New York City time, Eastern time. If we get this kind of displacement here at this time of day, creating a fair value gap like it was here. Here's another fair value gap that was created after displacement, and that just completely became an inverse fair value gap and support. So it didn't work. So here, this fair value gap right here became support for that area. It was, instead of shorting, it became support. Let's see if we can get a displacement down, fair value gap created, and actually sell off and do some sweeping, temporary internal liquidity sweeps before heading up higher, where we all expect price to go. We all expect price to eventually go up here. Really think it will go down before it goes up. So let's see how far it displaces. Let's see if we get a chance. My problem here could be that I just didn't wait for it to displace. That's very possible. I do see a fair value gap created right here, and I'll put my stop as close to possible to that fair value gap. Little tiny fair value gap right here. It's tested it 3 times, but it's not a very big displacement. So if it stops me out, I wouldn't blame it one bit. That's my problem. It's a 1 minute chart. We don't see a whole lot of activity. Yeah, let's see if it holds, because this looks like it wants to break right through it. This looks like a displacement opportunity here on the 15-second chart. The fair value gap is in a different spot
Stop
here.
filled.
Yeah, it stopped me out. Here's the fair value gap right there. That was created, and it went down, came back up, tested a couple of times, and we were hoping it rolled right on down through this way. So that was a failed attempt. Just like this one failed up here. It did eventually break structure though. So that's why I trusted this one more than this one. I didn't think this was a very big structure break. This was definitely a structure break with a fair value gap, and that's why it was a much better attempt for me. Problem is, I guess you could say the problem is I got in low. If I would have gotten in up here, I would have broke even on that trade rather than having a loss. Because as soon as it went down, I would have moved my stop loss to break even. So bad entry, late entry on this. So I'm going to put that down, late entry. We'll just see what happens next. I suppose if I draw it out in anticipation, looking for a breaker to the downside, displacement would have to come down lower than this point right here, because it's just displacing up. Breakers tend to have one final sweep to the upside before displacing down and breaking that's pivot. I'm not saying I found it. It could definitely go up and up and up, but who knows how far it's going to go. It may not even reverse. This is all just because I anticipate it to do an internal sweep of liquidity before it goes up to that high point. Why do I think that? I don't know. I just know the market doesn't always go in a straight line. And that from that logic alone, it would not surprise me if it did some internal sweeping before it went up that high. I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that. But, you know, the market's going to do what the market wants to do. See how before it came straight down this way, it swept? Look how many times it swept up, it swept up. We haven't had one sweep in this whole thing here. And we may not. We may not. But look over here. It sweeps. It sweeps. It sweeps. You know, it does do some sweeping. So that's why I'm thinking what I'm thinking. Let's keep watching. Well, as you can see, we're almost into the 25-minute mark in the hour of the silver bullet moment. And it really doesn't want to give us an entrance to the long side either, really. We haven't had any fair value gaps or even really bounces off order blocks, unless you want to call that an order block right there where price came down and bounced. And it's very difficult to get in. It's so fast. 5-minute chart is showing this acceleration. Even the 8 EMA is having a hard time keeping up with it. So, it definitely looks like it wants to go straight up before any kind of correction. What a turtle soup trade it might be at the top for those who are skilled in that particular setup. So let's keep examining, maybe go long now. If it gives us a fair value gap entrance, maybe right here could be one. There it is. If that comes back to test that, we could probably try to enter in on that. And there's a little fair value gap right here that was tested. That seemed to work. So we could try to go long. And here's another fair value gap entrance down here. It's looking like it's probably better to assume it's going to keep going up. All right, I'm going to take my chances here and get long. It did come to that fair value gap that we noted. Hopefully it'll work. It did bounce, got in. It turned around abruptly on a green candle, and so I added to the position. Got both my targets up here near this high. I don't know if it's going to get up there, but it's not going down at the moment, so we might as well go long. So let's see how that turns out. Okay, this is the kind of displacement I was talking about. Going to the short side. Here's a fair value gap test. Unfortunately, I am long on it. I could reverse my position and go short. It stopped me out of one of those, and the other one was down here where it bounced off this order block, just ever so tickly, nice. But we're going to try to catch this to the downside. If this stops me out and does not go down, and to do some sweeping like here and here perhaps, then I'll just stop out and I'll just give up. I'm learning how to do this. I don't really exactly know how to perfect this yet. This silver bullet trade, this hour between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern time, New York City time zone. And the drawn liquidity could very well just simply still be at the high part. It's not going to go down anywhere until it reaches that, perhaps. That is one thesis. The other one is that it's not going to quite go all the way. It's going to come grab some liquidity and do some head faking first. How far down it goes, nobody knows though. This is the lower part of the previous hour. Some nice strong order blocks down here. Here's some liquidity sweep areas and ideas that it could pull back to. If it does indeed pull back, I don't know if it's going to yet. I don't know if my thesis is going to work or not. So we'll try shorting another little piece here and put our stop above that fair value gap area and our target down here. And we'll see if it works or not. I'll let you know. All right, it did a little scare there for a minute. I don't know if it's going to come down past this point here or not. Hopefully it will sweep this, and that would be great. At least we can hit one of our targets there. And we still got this amount of time until the end of the block, the session. And it may do a nice run deep for quite a few liquidities. That'd be great if it came all the way down here and just really had a nice fall. It may not do anything. I don't know. We'll see. All right, I'm at least going to move to break even on this trade because right now it's coming pretty close to this here, and I don't know if it's going to go any lower than that. Yeah, I'd like to say I can at least hold out for that, and then the other one down here somewhere. See if it grabs this, sweeps this little bit right here. Hopefully it will. I'm already on break even though. That's cool. So I don't have nothing to lose on the trade. That's good to know. What does it look like on the 5-minute chart? There's a long ways down. Oh, it hit my target. Good. It hit my target for the one. I could start to trail this other one here a little bit.
Order canceled.
I got one to go. I'm going to trail it just a little bit on this one. Let's see what happens, It did, look at that. It did sweep this little area. Just this little teeny area right here. It swept it by a couple of ticks. It did. It went down past my stop. Now, is it going to go back up and stop me out? My stop is right there, just underneath. So we'll see what happens. I'm thinking, why not go down for the next layer down here? There's an order block, though. It could get stuck on that order block anywhere from here all the way down to the bottom of that. But I got it towards the bottom because what I'll do is I'll just trail my stop down. This is definitely what I was looking for. Now, hopefully it'll keep going down all the way until the end of the session, till 3 o'clock. We all know and we all believe that it's going up here. Okay, that's the top. That's the high part. That's the high over here on this 4-hour chart several days back. That's the all-time highs, or one of the highs. And we all believe, yeah, that's where it's going. I understand that. But to not have an internal sweep of some sort before it gets there is a little bit unusual. If it stops me on this next round here for under break even, I'll make something on it, but that's fine. And it did sweep at least one shallow area of liquidity. So I'm happy that I got a little bit of that part right. And it could be that I just have my stop too close, but I don't want to lose anything on this trade at all since, it's about to get me.
Order
and
filled.
It did. So I broke even on the second part. But I still want to see what happens in the rest of this session, this silver bullet hour. We still got some time. Maybe it'll come back down here. Well, it's hitting another fair value gap. So let's see what happens here. It's hitting another fair value gap. Let's see if it closes above it or not, because we could try one more short here if we have to. See, up here in this circle is where I entered my shorts, and right here is a brand new area to short. And I should have got short. I didn't really know. At least I could break even right now because it's a secondary trade, a little bit riskier, using the top of that candle as my stop loss. Just want to see what would happen. At this point, what would have happened? Would it have continued down or stop me out at the top of that candle?
Order submitted.
All right, I tried it. I'm going to break even. See if it keeps going down.
Order filled.
I broke even on that. I put it so close to the entry point because I started turning red. It's just, I wish it would have went down real strong. If it would have went down real strong, we'd still be in this trade. I'd be in this trade profitably. Looking at the secondary entry on the second fair value gap that was created right here, that was good thinking. Fair value gap is right here based on this candle here. The first entry was based on these candles up here. It was because of displacement, creating a fair value gap, going up to that fair value gap. That was where I entered short the first time. came down to swept this. We took our profits. It came up, break me even for the back half. Came up, and when it came up and started to go down, it created another fair value gap. So when it came up to break me even, I noticed it was pulling up into a fair value gap that it had just created. So when it went down to stop me out, it hit my target. When it went down to hit my target on the front part of my order, it created a fair value gap. When it came up and broke me even on the back half of my order, it entered into that fair value gap. It went into it and over it just a smidgen, creating an entry opportunity, and I entered in short again. And the problem with this is that I broke even too quickly and it snapped me out for break even. And the target would have been, let me just mark where I would have been broke even still. This was my stop loss. So already we're near almost 2-to-1. We would have hit 2-to-1 on that particular trade right there. But the target would have been the lows of this or break even. So let's just say I didn't break even so quickly and I would still be in this trade right here at this line. It'd be interesting to see how this works out. Let's keep an eye on it. All right, it's right all the way back down to this level right here. And it looks like it might have whipped up and tried to tick me out one last time anyway. It's possible if I had stayed in it, I would have been ticked out here for break even. But is it going to break past this part or not, going towards the next liquidity level, or is it going to put in relatively equal lows here, creating a nice area for a sweep later on? We're almost at the end of the particular hour for the silver bullet, and I'm curious to see how this is going to end. All right, I entered another trade here. As you can see, I'm on break even already, and I'm hoping that it goes down here. If it does, I will close my position. It may be heading a lot lower. It may come up and get me out for break even. It's real choppy right now. Well, we only have a few minutes
Order
left,
filled.
and it got me for break even. And it went all the way down here again. So, but it's making lower highs. And I saw that it created another fair value gap, guys, right here. Between these two red candles, it created a fair value gap, came up and started putting in a red pintail candle. I said, let me jump in. And I broke even immediately. And it went all the way down to this level here and came up and stopped me out for break even. It's very, very choppy. We got a few minutes left of this silver bullet hour. And it may be that after the hour's complete that it goes and does some sweeping. If we were in a trade, we could stay in it. But I don't know if I want to enter into the trade after that. This is the silver bullet ICT trade strategy. At certain times of the day, you're looking to enter into the trade heading to liquidity. If we were bullish, which we are, but we're looking for at least an intermediate or temporary pullback to do some internal sweeping before heading higher. That was the whole point of us looking for shorts in a bull market before it gets to its target, its longer term target. We were looking for it to do some internal liquidity sweeps, and it did. It swept this level here, and it swept this level here, and it's putting in some levels for later, some new levels. And there's all kinds of levels down here. This level has not been taken yet, and these levels are waiting and asking to be taken, but I'm not sure if it's going to do that before this hour is over. In fact, we only got a few minutes left, literally like 4 minutes left. And then probably, if it doesn't continue down, it's probably going to hit up here next. At least take out this level here. And that is the silver bullet strategy, guys. And this is what it does right at the end of the silver bullet session. Here's the end of the hour. I thought it was going to come get this target and this target. Had I stayed in this trade without breaking even, it would have hit my secondary target.